it's Saturday night. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are cruising. We are at cruising altitude on March 21st, 2026 at 8:59 and change p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is spring. It is spring. It sure is. And tonight just happens to be a Saturday night, the last Saturday night special of March, at least the last scheduled one of March. And we are going to be calling this one the Saturday Night Conspiracy Lounge, because we've got a special guest who's actually never been here on a Saturday night before, and that is Jay Gulinello. Jay, how are you?
I just realized I've never been here on a Saturday night.
Yep, we're one of the only two people in the entire building, and that makes it even spookier.
It feels that way.
To be talking about conspiracies. And Jay, this is a very, very interesting night because you have just fulfilled something that you've wanted to do your entire life. I'm sure you're not done going down to this area and kicking over these types of rocks, but you just returned from a trip to Texas, namely to Dallas, and also spent some good time at Dealey Plaza.
It was something.
For somebody and when I first met you, it took a while for me to realize just how much of a JFK assassination expert. I'm not a, it's cozy. I read a few books. Expert you are.
Well, I appreciate that. I would say it's more based on volume, because I was thinking about this on the ride over here today. I've been doing this since I was 14. I traced it back to my high school history teacher, and we were reading, the inevitable chapter in the history book that says the assassin Lee Harvey Oswald of President John F. Kennedy. And I just remember thinking, but wait. And then the whole thing just fell apart from there. She was not having it. She was kind of like brushing me off, already as a conspiracy theorist. And I'm like, I don't even have a conspiracy theory. You can't call me a conspiracy theorist if I have no theory. I'm just asking you if the man who was accused of assassinating the president was then himself assassinated not 2 days later without a trial, isn't he always going to be the alleged assassin forever? Like in the history books should state that, and they didn't. And I was just kind of like, I don't know. That was the first moment where I was like, this guy got a bum rap.
It's great. It's a really great point that is rarely ever brought up, where we don't have any footage of Lee Harvey Oswald killing Jack Kennedy.
No.
We don't have, there's no hard evidence of him. Seriously, there's none. And he never got his day in trial.
Nope.
So you have to, legally, morally, ethically, he's an alleged assassin.
Forever. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that's kind of what I want. So I remember the last few times we've spoken about this, I tend to, so I talk fast anyway. I know, chat. I know. I do my best, especially when I get excited about things. But this, you know this, Frank. I mean, this Kennedy assassination history and the broad scope of it lends itself to bouncing around in a million directions. And I do understand that if you aren't as familiar with it as I am, again, just because I've been doing it for so long and reading, and the pure volume is excessive at this point, that it can feel like you're jumping around. And so I kind of thought maybe tonight, given the pictures that I sent you and actually standing there in both, so I did a dangerous thing. So I went to the museum, which is pretty much dedicated, unfortunately, to the lone nut theory. But I needed to be in the museum because I needed to be as close to the window as possible. Now, I don't know if anybody knows this, but you can't actually get to the window anymore. They have it, and you'll see in one of the photos, they actually have it. They have the two windows on that corner of the building plexiglassed off. So you actually can't stand there anymore.
I'm looking at it. Hold on. Is it this picture? Hold on. That one?
Yeah. That's the actual window, but you can't. I don't know if you can see. There's a slight reflection. I'm standing up against plexiglass. I'm as close to it as I can get.
Is this farthest one the window?
No. Yes. No, it's the farthest one. The ones where the boxes are stacked up as if like to prop up a rifle.
Oh, okay.
So that's supposedly preserved. I mean, who knows how preserved it is? But there's some interesting things we're going to talk about with this window. But this is the window. You just can't get there. I'm literally pressed up. I'm surprised they didn't kick me out for like fogging up the. I'm like, I need to get as close to this as possible. So I got right up. Again, actually, you can kind of see my shadow. You can kind of see my reflection in the plexiglass. So I'm right up against it.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even realize. Oh, yeah. You can't get anywhere near. I can see it now.
Yeah, that's me. So
it's almost like the reflection in the plexiglass that they use in Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah, you know when Harrison Ford drops down into the snake pit.
Yeah.
When actually finds the Ark. Mm-hmm. Well, when he falls down and he comes face to face with the King Cobra.
Yeah.
If you look closely,
no way,
you can see the glass separating him and the Cobra.
That is cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
love little things like that.
Yeah.
So they were obviously like, well, we'll use a real Cobra, but we're gonna be careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. So it's the same kind of thing. That's as close as you can get. And I did take a picture. So what I did for you guys was, I did take a picture to the closest window from that vantage point, which would be the third window over. So there's the alleged sniper's perch. There's one other window that they have plexiglassed off. And the very next window in that line, I did take a picture as if in a sniper position. Like I got down, in a kneeling. Yes.
Is that it?
Yep. That's as close as you're going to get anymore in 2026 to...
And this is essentially where the kill shot was, right?
Yeah, actually, you can see the X. I don't know how much you can zoom in. I did take a picture from the X.
Oh, it's right there?
I
see an X. It looks like that.
I think it should be further down, Frank. And actually, right in front of that car. Can you? I don't know if you can zoom in. I think that.
Hold on. Wait.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it right there. Just to the front and into the front left headlight of that car. Yeah. Right where your cursor is.
Oh, okay.
That's the X.
Right.
I did take a close up picture of it. The X is far less defined than I thought it was going to be. But that's the X. In the middle, in the center lane.
That's where the kill shot was.
Correct.
Where was the sewer? Because I heard that the sewer was moved.
Oh well, I mean, I'll show you where it was when I was there. Was right where that car is. You can actually see the yep. You can see the sewer top right there. Yep. So the drain is right there. And I did as much as I could there. It is a really, really poor angle, I have to admit. But that's So that was, I tried to mimic the.
So between this window, which you could get into,
right,
and the other window, which was blocked off and had all of the Oswald, cardboard box. So between that window and this window, which had the best shot at the motorcade?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the best shot would have been coming down Houston towards the window. I don't know if I sent you a picture of that. I do have other pictures, so I can send them all to Frank, and maybe Frank can put them up somewhere so you guys can. I just sent Frank like the 6 that I thought were the most useful for telling a story tonight, but. So that's the X. So I actually, so this is the dangerous thing I did. Well, you're not supposed to take video on the 6th floor. I took a video. You're not supposed to do that. And the other dangerous thing is, remember, this is an active street. So I had to wait for the light to turn red, and then I ran out into the middle of the street and got a picture of the X. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to actually get down on the ground and take because I've never seen a picture from the X to the window. So that's me right here. Risking life and limb for you guys in the middle of an on-ramp to the highway.
So where's the window we're talking about?
You want to go to the right.
To the right?
Yeah. You got to go further to the right. Yep, there it is.
Where?
Second one down, the square window.
Oh wait, over here. Wait, on the red building?
Nope. Right there. That's it. Yep.
Hold on. This one.
Yep, and you can see the little box. Oop. Yeah, see the little box? Oop.
Well, I mean, if I'm looking at that one right there.
Yep. And they even leave it half open, because that's supposedly what he did.
Okay, so from there
to there.
To here.
That's the headshot that supposedly sent Kennedy's head back into the left, which is, again, the laws of physics don't allow for this, right?
See, that's the whole thing there, too, because some people would say, and I didn't know how, some people said the angle of from the actual spot to the window was just not even possible to even get a good clear shot off at his body.
Right.
I've heard that before. This angle that you're showing me says that it seems like a shot in the back of the head would have been possible if somebody was in that window?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I could see the X. And the thing about angles, and I think it's really important to state this. The thing about angles is that anybody who's talking about angles, it is all pure speculation. Why? Because bullet holes were never fully ballistically dissected on Kennedy's body. It was never done. Never done. And anybody who does any ballistics knows that you can't trace bullet trajectory if you don't do that in the body. So they didn't do it in the brain and they didn't do it in the body. So anybody that's talking about angles it's all pure speculation. So that's just one thing to point out. But I always wanted to see what it looked like from the headshot to the book depository. Because I went everywhere. I went to the overpass. I went to the picket fence, the grassy knoll. I actually stood on Abraham Zapruder's perch where he actually filmed the assassination from. And, so like...
I have 2 pictures of that. I think that's what I have over here.
Yeah, so we can get to all that. But I'm just glad that you mentioned that, and I think we'll show that picture again at some point of the actual perch because, the story that's told, I always wondered, how did they... Nobody, no single witness ever saw the assassination or described the assassination exactly the way the Warren Commission did, which I think is really important when you think about all the witnesses in Dealey Plaza that day. And some of them saw different things, and that's totally to be expected. Everyone had a different vantage point, may have heard different things. Shots do echo. Of course, all of that stuff is possible. But I think it's telling that the Warren Commission came out with something essentially that was like an amalgamation of all the cherry-picked testimony that they needed to create the predetermined narrative that they went in with. And I think that's fascinating as I've done so much research. What I keep coming across, and we can cover some of this today, and again, I wanted to try to focus in on just like one thing, like Oswald in the window, did anybody see him? Supposedly the answer is yes, and I can talk you through some of that, which is just interesting. And how did they release an APB so quickly based on, again, you said like no one actually saw him do the shooting. Now, this gentleman named Howard Leslie Brennan does say, and I can walk you through some of his testimony really quickly, what he saw, and then you guys can tell me whether you think he's legitimate. But he was standing opposite Zapruder, so I stood where he was. He was looking up at the Texas School Book Depository. He was looking across the street. I'm not sure why he was looking up in the window when the president was, coming around the corner. I suppose maybe something caught his eye. But he's a key witness, so I just took some notes. So let me just walk through this with you real quick. So he's really the main eyewitness, provided the initial description of the man he saw in the southeast corner of the 6th floor of the window of the depository. He observed someone firing a rifle towards the president's limousine. So he was one of few witnesses with a direct, unobstructed view of that specific window during the shooting sequence. He noticed here's his testimony. He noticed a man in the window before the motorcade arrived, saw him leave, and then return a couple times. And then during the shooting, he saw a man deliberately aim and fire. Okay, we'll keep going. He describes the shooter as a slender white male in his 30s, fair complexion, about 5'10", weighing about 165 pounds. The description closely matches Oswald, who was 24, is 5'9", 135 pounds.
Wait. And again, the only thing that he knows of him is from what he saw in the window?
This is what I'm getting at.
How the hell can you even get height and weight through a window?
Okay, can you put that picture back up? Because this is incredibly important.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me the picture of the building from the.
I mean, you could do that, but actually the perch, the actual perch that's plexiglassed in, because I want to show you something about. Yes. Do you notice something interesting about these windows? Look at how far they are off the ground. Like they're pretty low, right?
Yeah, they are. They look like to be about 2 feet.
Right. Okay. So now remember, this is the description that essentially gave the police the APB, which then they were able to surround the Texas Theater and arrest Oswald. But some of the notes that I have. So the windows are approximately 37 inches, or about 3 feet high, but they're only about 13 inches off the ground, which makes sense because that's why I took that picture, because I wanted to see what we're talking about. He was able to ascertain...
So we're nowhere near 2 feet, actually, then.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So let's see. He also says that he saw the shooter in a standing position, but he said So he said he saw the shooter from the hip up, and he was able to assess height, which is, again, almost impossible. But Oswald would have had to have done the shooting, or anybody would have had to have done the shooting in a crouched position, because you look at the size of the windowsill, and even the way they've stacked the boxes there, even though that's, not
There's no way to open this window sufficiently for anybody to take a shot standing.
Exactly. So if the shooter was truly standing and visible from the hips up, the low sill would have forced an unnatural elevated stance. So that's one of the main things that this entire APB and subsequent arrest of Oswald hinge on. A man from the street looking up into a window, not understanding that how high this window is off the ground, saying he can see the man from the hips up, and is somehow able to ascertain height and weight. And his testimony had changed multiple times, and this is one of the big problems with him. So now you have to wonder, was he being fed the information in order to, to basically pin this on Oswald? I just thought that was one of the most interesting things. He was about 120 feet away from the window from where he was standing. And it's just, I stood there and I looked in that window, and remember, there's people in the museum, so I can see in that window from the street. And I'm looking up in that window and I'm like, I'm sorry, but with a president coming around the corner and all kinds of, people screaming and cheering and everything, to think you can look up in that window, watch somebody fire 3 shots and know their height and their weight. I just don't buy it. And he's the only person that has that testimony. He's the only person that saw that, and he was the only person that was able to give height and weight. And that's incredibly important because, again, he specifically testified that he saw the shooter in a standing position, because that's how he said, well, that's how I was able to see the height. But again, he doesn't know the height of the windowsill off the ground. So when you're looking at somebody, if you don't know how high the window is, how do you even know where the floor is, right? You have no idea. So he's purely guessing. But he also says the rifleman was shooting in a standing position. So that's really problematic. But that's our eyewitness.
That's the witness.
That's the witness. And the Warren Commission really leaned on him.
And meanwhile, there are, from what I have read over the years, at least over a dozen very compelling people who are saying things that are wildly different from that.
Yeah.
Especially with having shots ringing out from all directions, hitting the sidewalk, bystanders, all that stuff. So it's...
Yeah, so Warren Commission Volume 3, he saw a man, quote, standing up and resting against the left windowsill with the rifle shouldered. And he could see, quote, practically his whole body from his hips up.
Through the glass.
Yeah, so I don't know. So practically his whole body from the hips up, and he estimated his height. That is a magician. That is a magician. And he nailed it. I mean, I think what's crazy is that he really nailed the height and the weight. And that was, again, what was able to largely pin this on Oswald, according to the Warren Commission. Brennan may have... And then the Warren Commission, defense was, well, they say, Brennan may have meant standing in a loose sense. So I'm not quite sure what that means.
What is this loose sense of standing?
They say like upright torso, not fully erect, maybe. So this is the other theme that I discovered over the years of doing this, and then like putting together some notes for this specific thing that I wanted to try to unravel the timeline for you guys. So we have this one witness. This is just the one guy that says he saw Oswald and says he was able to ascertain height and weight, which I think is ridiculous given the fact that I was standing there. There's actually a 24-hour live stream from the sniper's perch. I have the address, so you can quite literally look out that window 24 hours a day in Dealey Plaza.
As you were sending me these pictures in email, I'm saying to myself, anybody that works in that area, the things that they have seen people do to get a certain angle over the years,
I'm
coming through there to be. Just to see. But I guess the one thing that you have to just accept if you are from the area, and especially if you work anywhere in that plaza, is that it's not necessarily that people think they're going to show up and find a missing piece.
No.
It's more so they just want to finally be there and just assess the situation for themselves, apply everything they've read over the years for themselves.
Exactly.
How did just being there being in certain buildings, being in the middle of the street, being in the same position where Abraham Zapruder was standing. What was added for you as an experience, just because you've already have so many layers of sedimentary knowledge on the thing. So what did the actual physical presence do for you?
I didn't know how I was going to feel standing there. And ironically, I'm not familiar. I've never been to Dallas. I'm not familiar with anything in Dallas. And so this was the weirdest experience, Frank. So I'm in completely novel surroundings, and I booked an Airbnb, not knowing actually. Funny that I didn't actually think about this, but I booked it on Main Street. So my walk from my Airbnb, 0.8 miles to Dealey Plaza, happened to also be the exact motorcade route. And I didn't even think about that, right? Like I wasn't thinking, like tracing the motorcade route wasn't really super interesting to me, except that turn onto Elm Street, obviously, is critical. But as I was walking down,
is that when everybody got stripped away? Is that when the several layers of bodyguards got stripped away?
No, that mostly happened at the airport, like at the outset. They were kind of stripped off the vehicle, and you can see them like kind of throwing up their hands, going like, "What the?" Yeah, that's kind of more at the airport. This was the turn onto Elm was that almost 90-degree turn that slowed the motorcade down to a crawl against Secret Service protocol. But as I'm walking down Main Street, I start to see, so I'm walking down, and then I take a right onto Houston. And as soon as you take a right onto Houston, you start to see the recognizable things that we've all seen for years. And it was this eerie feeling of being like momentarily being in a place I've never been before and totally novel, don't recognize any of my surroundings. And then I turn the corner, and it's like
it's a movie set.
Yes, exactly like a movie set.
It's like seeing the Hilldale. Hill Valley. What was it?
Hillsdale? No, Hill Valley.
Hill Valley.
Yeah.
From Back to the Future.
Yes, exactly.
I know that town inside and out.
It's so strange, Frank. I've never had that experience before. I don't think I've ever studied anything so closely and been so familiar with an area that I've never physically been. So it was a very surreal experience. And the first time I saw the book depository, I was just kind of like staring at it, because again, and I went, I was supposed to go on Sunday and have the whole day. But when I got to the Airbnb on Saturday night, I was like, I gotta go.
So you had a nighttime stroll.
Yeah, I went by and I could not go, right? So I went down at night for the first time, and I didn't get to scope around too much because there was a bunch of homeless people sleeping on the grassy knoll. So I didn't want to like go over there and see what was going on.
You should have camped out with them.
I was thinking about it. Hey, you guys here for assassination research?
My grandfather was one of the guards. My grandfather was a medical examiner.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Tell me all about it.
Oh, they ruined my life. They ruined our family's life.
Now I'm sleeping here.
That is why I'm here.
No, so it was
Did you get any pictures at night?
I did. I didn't send any over to you, but I did. I got a couple with my phone.
Was it creepier, or was it? Did it feel like okay? Well, I don't know.
It didn't. It actually felt very different. It didn't feel like the same place because we never see it at night.
Right.
Every video, black and white or colorized or picture, everything is daytime. So like being there at night actually didn't have much of an effect on me. Being there in the day did. And the day I was there, you can see by the pictures, it was 80 degrees and sunny, not a cloud in the sky. So it was like, like the day of, the assassination. Well, according to most of the footage.
It's November.
That we see. Yeah.
It must have been the most beautiful day in Texas ever.
It was just, and again, so the day I was there to take the pictures, it was perfect. But yeah, it felt like a movie set. I kept seeing, I'm like, I've seen actors in movies like JFK walk around that area. I've seen Kevin Costner and not Kiefer Sutherland, the other Sutherland, Donald Sutherland. Like, I've seen them all walking these things, these areas, and it's like, wow, I'm like standing where all these people stood. And when you go behind the picket fence up on the grassy knoll, there's just writing everywhere. CIA did it. Check out this, check out that. Like, it's like people who visit there, kind of leave their mark on the fence, or the fence is just littered with all kinds of stuff.
Did you feel at any time that you were being followed or watched?
Only at TSA.
Oh, you had a TSA experience.
I did. I've had several TSA experiences. I don't know, Frank. I don't mean to be paranoid, but since this is Conspiracy Saturday, I have to tell you something. I get patted down every time I go through TSA. It's weird. It's like a thing now. Like I feel like the guy looks at me and he actually, this time I went through on my way to Dallas and he goes, You want to do this in a private room? And I was like, let's just do it here. So I got the full workup. And I don't know why. I have no idea why. And I was like,
you should have said, do I get the deluxe in the private room?
I was like, yeah. Is there anything special about the private room?
What's the private room? Is that gonna...
So that's happened to me at least the last 3 times I've flown. And then on the way back, I was expecting the same thing, right? So I get to, I didn't even tell you guys this. I also flew into Love Field, that's the airport that Jackie and JFK arrived at, the famous thing when they're coming out, she's in the pink dress and they're shaking hands. That's Love Field. So that's where I flew in. So it was kind of it was very strange. Like I kind of like walked in the footsteps, so to speak. But when I was leaving Dallas and I went to Love Field, I was expecting to get patted down again and I didn't. I was like, oh, cool. And then I got home and I opened my suitcase to unpack it. There was a note from TSA inside. My bag was chosen for random inspection and they had rooted around in my bag. And they said, I wish I brought the thing. They said, if we break any locks or damage anything, we're not responsible. It's necessary.
Wait a second.
9/11 and all. That's basically what the note said.
Did you have to take your locks off then for that inspection? How did they get this thing in your bag?
No, it was a checked bag. So they went through it and I didn't even know.
But you're not allowed to lock your checked bags?
Oh, you are? I just didn't.
Oh.
I just didn't have a lock. So it was just like, it was a generic
thing.
thing.
They took their liberties?
They went through the whole thing.
If you had a bag, if you had a checked bag that had a little tiny luggage lock on it, I wonder if they would have cut it off to put that note in there.
That's exactly what they did. They said it right in there. They said, if we choose your bag and we have to break a lock to get in, you have to understand it's for your own safety. So if they don't search me, they search my bag. So I just, since we're on Conspiracy Saturday, it's weird. It's weird. I was shocked at that part of it. So
wow. Okay. So then, you definitely are on a watch list.
On a list.
Just not high enough up to stop you from flying altogether.
No. But everyone feels like they're being followed when they're in Dealey Plaza. The other weird thing, it's the middle of March. Actually, I was there on the Ides of March, which is totally unintentional. It just happened to be that worked in with my plans for the conference. But I was there on the Ides of March and, I didn't know if there was going to be people there because it's just a random Sunday. There's people there, man. I mean, I'm sure it's busier on November 22nd, but I was surprised at how many people were there. It was kind of incredible, to see.
It's just got to be every day.
All this, all these years later, people are still, and it's really interesting because, you listen to conversations, you try to pick up what people have to say. And there's some people that are out there, showing their kids the lone nut that killed the president, right? Like he was a Marine, he was a sharpshooter, he was the and I'm just like, oh, you're corrupting this poor child. Like I wanted to call somebody, take this child away from this person.
Did you hear my little segment that I did on the deathbed confession, the moon landing deathbed confession?
Oh, actually, I think I was in Dallas listening to you one night when you were playing that.
It was. What was it? Was it the
13th or 14th? Friday the 13th or 14th?
I forget. I think Eugene Akers.
Yeah.
I've seen it. It's an older confession. He's talking about what his father, Eugene Akers, he was dying.
Yeah.
And he told everybody what his father told him about how there was the moon landing was prefabricated tape.
Yeah.
And that they filmed it out in the desert and they did their thing and that's what they served up to people and all that stuff. And I had brought it up because recently one of Aurora's teachers got in touch with us to say, hey, listen, for this spring session, for the next 5 to 7 weeks, we're going to be doing these certain geographical areas in the world. We're going to be talking about the local fauna and flora and all that stuff. We're going to go, we're going to do Easter. We're saying we're going to concentrate on Jesus and the resurrection story rather than, Easter bunnies and egg hunts and all that stuff.
Peeps.
Yeah, and peeps, marshmallow chickens. We're going to spend a little bit less time on marshmallow chickens this year and get down to...
There you go. That's smart.
Anyway, but then lastly, she said, and we knew Aurora was going to love this. We wanted to do a little bit more on the solar system and all the planets, and she wanted to see what all of the parents had to say about if they had any opinions on how they would like the moon landing to be approached. And I said, what an interesting question. I'm sure that there are, how many parents in this country get asked that from their teacher, from their children's teachers? What is everybody comfortable with?
Counting you guys? One.
Yeah, so, but here's what I said, because I thought about that when you brought up the story of being in Dealey Plaza and listening to normie, well-meaning, normie blue-pilled parents teaching their children about the lone nut who was, a commie sympathizer, whatever the hell else, trained by Russia, KGB, Cuba, all that stuff, and took out our president from an impossible angle.
Defied the laws of physics somehow. Incredible.
So, what I said was, we don't have to go into, you could talk about the space race. The entire planet was in on that one. You could talk about the space race and the years, the who, what, where, why, when. Just give us the slug line here of what the hell happened. But I think it's all right to start kids off with the official story.
Sure.
Or at least to a certain degree, so they have the baseline programming of understanding where 99.8% of people are coming from, so that you actually have a little bit more tools in your shed of dealing with people who may not be ready for your hottest takes.
Right.
And Aurora's going to hear all about the theories. I'm going to lay it all out.
Of course.
We're going to watch a funny thing happen on the way to the moon together.
That's good.
That's a good one.
That's Bart Sabrell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's.
That's so good. He got punched in the face by an astronaut.
Dude, listen. This is what I'm talking about here. That was, whether, and that's not a flat Earth take.
No.
Yeah, there are people in this audience who say poo poo to the whole thing because you can't break through the firmament. Well,
right.
Even
how they get through the Van Allen belt?
How do you get through the Van Allen belt?
Yeah.
The whole idea of catching them using like cardboard cutout trickery of what you're seeing. It's weird.
Well, really weird things that I don't know how I feel about that anymore. But I think one of the weirdest things to me is no one explains. That famous quote where the NASA scientist says, "Well, we'd like to go back to the moon, but we destroyed the technology." I don't even know what that means. What are you talking about?
First of all,
you destroyed 1969 technology. You don't have anything better. What are you talking about? Can someone nail that guy down and be like, what are you talking about? No one's ever satisfied that to me in any kind of way.
What the hell? We were, because millennials were the first people to be served up this golden line when the first Apple iPhone came out. Mm-hmm. Millennials, because we were all in college when Siri, when did the first iPhone come out?
2006 or 7?
Siri, when did the first iPhone come out, bitch?
I was selling them. I think it was 2007.
I don't know how to respond to that. This piece of shit.
Oh, you angered her. I'm pretty sure it was 2007. Because
really?
Because I was working at Verizon when it came out, and it only came out on AT&T, and there were lines.
It's 2007. So we were just. We were just graduating college.
Yeah.
Okay. We were told, they held up the iPhone 1 and said, this has 10 times the computing power
right.
of what got us to the moon.
They're like, great, so we can go to the moon with the iPhone then.
It's like, what?
That's just problem solved.
We could go to the moon in a dishwasher. You should be able
Especially some of the modern dishwashers.
Send us in a dishwasher
what
then.
What the hell is going on?
I know you went in a popcorn machine the first time.
Yeah, Jiffy Pop, yeah.
Send a dryer this time. There were just some things that I remember hearing and saying, interesting. And then it took me like 5 years to say, wait a second, what was that?
Hold on.
What was that? I feel like I just went to a children's magic show. And I was completely fooled by the animal balloon man, and it took me.
I know.
You gotta be kidding me.
Well, yeah. That has never been really explained, and I think a lot of the times this is the problem, right? Like even let's just go on the premise that the truth is the truth, right? We went to the moon, landed on the moon, people walked to the moon, great. But NASA has been caught factually altering photos from Mars. You know, that whole like orange, when we first sent rovers and were taking pictures, they were caught, colorizing and they would say things like, oh, well, when they got caught, it was like, oh, well, yeah, you know, we needed to, we wanted to make it look more, visually appealing for blah, blah, blah. It's like, listen, this is why nobody trusts you, right? Same thing like with the Kennedy assassination. The more you lie, or the 9/11 Commission, let's just not mention Building 7. Like, the more you do things like that, even if the normie, story is true of all these things, you have created the whole industry of conspiracy theory, right? When really what it is a whole bunch of people who like think for themselves and think through a problem and just demand to know like why, how, like just ask basic, journalism questions. But all these institutions and entities have created their own problems because they just don't do things on the up and up. And if there's a good reason for it, I've never heard it. So that's the way it is with NASA. NASA gets caught doing bullshit all the time. So if people don't believe we land on the moon, it's their fault. It's their fault. And again, same thing with the Warren Commission.
I'll tell you something though. I am still, the jury's still out for me as to whether or not I always loved the other theory about there just being something already up there on the moon.
Seriously.
And that it was necessary to give everybody the broadcast show of the moon just because you couldn't possibly, you couldn't show what was actually up there. And
right.
that it was a dummy to just give somebody to chew on. Couple of years of missions up there. There's only so long you can kick around moon rocks,
right.
And then everybody
play golf. And
nobody even cares anymore.
Right.
And then, and then what? So I like that. I like that opinion. I love the whole idea of the moon being hollow and,
okay. Have you ever seen the Y-Files episode on Hollow Moon Theory?
No.
Everybody should go watch that because AJ, the host of that show, very science-minded guy. I think he's an actual Mensa candidate, like very, very smart guy. Kind of goes into a lot of these conspiracies, like kind of liking the story, but not necessarily believing. And he definitely didn't believe the Hollow Moon Theory. And then he even says at the end of the episode, I thought this was all a bunch of BS. And then after researching the Hollow Moon Theory, he goes, the moon's weird. He's like, it's just weird. And there's no explanation for why it does some of the things that it does, including ring like a bell. Like, do you know NASA actually crashed one of the landers in it to test that theory to see how long it would reverberate? So even NASA had questions about whether the moon is hollow. And they say, oh, well, it's not hollow, but it has cavernous spaces. Okay, so now we're just playing semantic games. But they crashed a lander into the moon to see what it would do, to determine, I don't know, the level of hollowness, I guess. So NASA believed it too. So it's not ludicrous. It's not out of the realm of possibility to think that things are being kept from us from that perspective. Whether it's alien or not is not even the point. It's just, we just don't know the whole story, I think.
I know.
So
I know. And that's, I would love to know motive. You say, well, it's control. Yeah, but why?
Yeah.
No. It's one thing to say, hey, we found a whole bunch of natural resources over there that we want a corporate, but when it comes to things that are paradigm shifting as far as our existence, I wonder about that.
Yeah.
I really do. And that's why, spiritual stuff always comes up.
Yeah.
Speaking of, spiritual stuff, the Y-Files, I am about an hour in to a 3-hour. He started, I would love to get him on the show. I would love to become, this is one of those guys I would like to be friends with.
Cool guy. Very cool guy.
Yeah. So, there are people I want to just have on the show. There are other guys that I just I think I'd be a pretty good friend with this guy.
We can hang out.
Yeah, we can hang out.
Yeah.
Like Razor Fist. I know that I feel like I think we'd have a good time chilling if we,
Yeah.
But either way, he started this format called The Basement. Have you seen it?
Yes, yeah. I haven't seen it, but for years, when I was watching the Y-Files, he kept talking about how he wanted to do like an interview series. They just hadn't got it off the ground yet.
Yeah.
I think that's what that is, right?
And I think he's holding two formats. He's got his presentation format, which is pretty great.
Right.
And And now he's got this interview format called The Basement. He's got this nice set up and all that stuff. I'll tell you, man, I wish I had, when I contacted, just remind me to get back on track for a second.
Okay.
When I contacted that one guy saying that I wanted to look into what the hell I can do with this room.
Right.
To upgrade the cameras, to upgrade the lighting, to bring in some, and I found the guy that creates I bet you any money that the guy I was talking to set this brought here, look at it. This is the one I'm watching right now.
Right.
Bet you any money the guy I was talking to set up this for AJ.
Mm-hmm.
Only thing is that when I asked him, I said, here's the room. I gave him the look around. I said, here's what I wanted to create and all that stuff. And we were looking at baseline somewhere around $60,000. And I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that there are some people out there who raise $60,000 in maybe like 2 months worth of streaming just through super chats.
Right.
And I'm just like, hey, I give $5 a month and we can jerk off together.
We'll get this room ready by 2045.
Anyway, I'm telling you, I would love to see what a professional who does set design like professionally would do with this room. In keeping certain themes and the lighting and the coziness in mind.
Yeah.
I would love to see what somebody would do with this room. That's just it's just nuts. But maybe one day. Anyway,
we'll get there.
This is like episode 6 of this series called The Basement. He's got this guy on. His name is Scott Walter, and they're talking about runes. Rune stones in Minnesota or something like that are just older than you would expect for ancient America.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff too.
But not only that, but Templars, the Knights Templar, and this green jar, which is this is what I haven't gotten to it yet. But the reason why that I was urged to watch this episode is because he said there's supposedly this green jar that was discovered somewhere in New England or something like that supposedly contained what was a last will and testament of Jesus Christ himself.
What?
Last will and testament that goes into it's from a Christian, Catholic, whatever denomination if you are Trinitarian, if you are a Christian,
right,
and you believe in the Trinity, all the main tenets of this story are completely heretical.
Right.
Okay. But it goes into, I haven't gotten there yet, about how Jesus essentially left almost like a diary that he was.
He did know what was coming.
Yeah. Yeah. But how he goes into, like, he leaves behind something. I'm not completely human. Which,
could you imagine if that's a real thing?
And that I am, that he's. Wow. He slowed his heart rate down to just be taken off the cross.
Okay, hold on. That's an episode of Batman, the Adam West Batman series.
Dude,
he's ripping off Batman.
I'm like, the last will and testament, and then went on to have 2 children with Mary Magdalene.
Oh, that's not going to make people happy.
It's not going to make people. I haven't gotten there yet. So yeah. I'm just.
I mean, the thing about AJ, and I'm similar to him. Like he has no problem. Like, he just enjoys the searching and the stories and things like that. So he has no problem going into those places. I don't either.
I let people rip.
I know you do, and you get in trouble for it, but you don't have to. You shouldn't worry about that. I know you don't worry about that. I know you do worry about that, but you don't worry about that because your show is also for entertainment. And if it was only a one-trick pony, then it wouldn't be a great show. And it's a great show because it's not a one-trick pony.
Nobody's told me a story like that though yet.
No. But if somebody did, you tend to let your guest run with. Put their own foot in their mouth. And that's okay. That's okay. That's what we're here for. That's what everybody's here for.
But you think about it, between that, the moon landing, JFK, the moon itself.
We got the moon in the room. We got JFK in the room. We're well represented here.
Where is he? Here he is.
You got a photo of it?
No, he's right there in the corner.
Oh, I was actually pointing to the one above the fireplace, the shrine.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I got him. I got the shrine with the gavel.
Yeah.
The gavel over there.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was, just going back to your question before, it was like, it's like a weird thing. It's like a combination being there. It's like a combination of circus, because again, you're like, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was like, I've seen this for decades, but on video, on there, and I've imagined what it would look like. Being there was weird. So there was like an element of like circusness to it, right? For lack of a better term. But then if you got a moment, and I had a few moments, because you're never really alone there because there's always people there. But if you do get a moment to like remember what actually happened right there, right? Like, oh, the X, like I'm going to get down there and take a picture. It's like, then you go back and you watch the Zapruder film and you're like, forget about what happened to the country at that point. Because I do believe so that's the pedestal that Abraham Zapruder stood on in film. And if you zoom in, you'll see the X is basically directly in front, which is the famous.
It's like you said before, it's like you turn a corner and you go from an alien world, an unfamiliar neighborhood to something that you have seen in your dreams
a zillion times.
I mean, this strip, anybody who sees this strip of road and doesn't recognize it.
No. And you know what I kept thinking? It was just like, I was like, why couldn't Abraham Zapruder have had like my iPad? Because then we would have all known exactly what happened. Like the sharpness of the pictures that I took. When I went back and looked at them, I was like, damn, this is incredible. And I even took video, like I took a video, I didn't send it to you. But again, anything anybody wants to see, I'll give it to you, Frank. We'll figure out a way. But I actually took a mock Zapruder film. You know what I mean? Like I took so that's right behind the fence where I think most likely the shot came from. And the X is right in the crosshairs of
where the kill shot or where the shot through the throat came from?
No, the headshot. That's where I believe the headshot came from.
Now the shot through the throat. What's the main thought on that? Because that seemed like it came like straight on.
So it depends on if you think that is an exit or an entrance wound, and there's a lot of debate on that. In fact, there was even debate at Parkland Hospital about that. And I could see it both ways. Like he definitely was shot from the back. I don't want people to think that I don't think any shots came from the back. I don't think Lee Harvey Oswald shot anybody. And I do think shots came from the book depository on the 6th floor, but I don't think they came from that window. I actually think they came from
probably one of the Cubans they brought in
from the west window, because the two gentlemen. So this is another part of the story I can tell you. Just to, again, like today, I just wanted to focus on like the timing and Oswald in the window, because I think again, not to get too scattered, but the men. There's a guy eating lunch in that exact window where the supposed shots came from. His name is Bonnie Ray Williams. He was eating his lunch in that window, and he says, and the Warren Commission tried to get him to push the time back and back, and he didn't give a fuck. He was like, I didn't leave until at the latest 12:20. 12:20, and then his buddy's on the 5th floor. He's a black guy, and he was up there by himself, and he actually even said, it's eerily quiet on this floor. That's the 6th floor, and that's 10 minutes before the assassination. By the way, the motorcade was also running 6 minutes late, and Oswald had no way of knowing that, especially in 1963. No way of knowing that. So Bonnie Ray Williams is saying, I was in that window. And in fact, Walter Cronkite went on the air, and when they found out about this whole like lunch thing, Cronkite interpreted it as the assassin was just coldly eating his lunch, waiting for the president to come. But it wasn't. It was this guy, Bonnie Ray Williams, another employee. So he's eating his lunch in that window, says, I didn't leave until 12:20. The first shot was fired at 12:30. So that gives Oswald 10 minutes to put the rifle together, construct the sniper's perch, and no one heard a damn thing. In fact, Bonnie Ray Williams left the 6th floor because he said it was eerily quiet and he didn't like being alone. So he went downstairs with his buddies. They say they heard shells hit the floor during the assassination. So I do think shots came, to get back to your question, from the 6th floor. I just don't think they came from Oswald or from that particular window, most likely. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they did come from that window, but it wasn't Oswald for a variety of other reasons that we can get to if we have time. But that, and then I think also probably the Daltex building, because that was on the 2nd floor. If you look at that was the building right next to the book depository. If you show that picture, when you said, oh, the other red building?
Yeah.
That building had a fire escape in 1963. And there are people that think that shots came from that 2nd floor area. And there was a witness there who said he heard shots coming from the building. He was sitting on the fire escape, and he said he heard shots coming from the building. He was sitting on the fire escape. That would have been a flat trajectory. So that could have hit Kennedy, and the front could have been an exit wound. But I also believe it could have been an entrance wound, and that could have been from the fence area. I'm not saying the person shooting from the fence only took the headshot, but I think definitely took the headshot. Because if you saw that picture I took, I mean, that is like, in that corner, it is a clear path right to the X. Yep. And it's a chip shot. I mean, when you stand there, you're like, damn.
Especially
It's
if
nothing.
if the cars at that point have been slowed down to nothing.
Nothing. To go around that corner to get onto Elm Street. And again, remember, the motorcade route was changed. It was supposed to go straight down Houston. It never would have taken that turn onto Elm.
You know, that's what I thought was really crazy too. Years ago, when I realized that even the Zapruder film, for as the fact that out of 1963, you know that not everybody's going to be standing around with 8mm tape. They're just going to be taking the moment in.
Yeah.
And the fact that this was such a damning video with the angle and all that stuff, and that even the only video that was out there was in some way manipulated, because I've seen the breakdowns of how and you tell me if you've ever looked into this and what kind of legitimacy you give the claim, but that the Zapruder film was actually the frame rate was manipulated at one point to make it seem like the car never actually slowed down. So
I actually don't think it was manipulated. I think, and I'm going on the work of Robert Grodin, who, he's back in the day, he was one of the first people. I think he was actually the one that kind of was able to liberate the Zapruder film and actually get it out to the public. And he is firmly on, camp conspiracy and multiple shooters and all of this. And he truly does not believe. And he actually, because the Zapruder film essentially establishes a shot from the front, he believes that the effort to discredit the Zapruder film in any way is an effort to discredit shots from the front, which is an interesting theory, right? Like if it's manipulated in one way, then it could be manipulated in any way. And he's saying that there is a chain of custody and that it is still pure. So
if that shot in the neck came from the back, wouldn't he have at least lurched forward?
And he actually did a little bit. If you do you have you know what I was looking for? I actually had a super clean Zapruder film that I can we play that?
I don't think so.
Ah, damn.
I started getting flat. I mean, on the flip side, we're
okay.
It's you know what? It's 9:50. We're in 10 minutes is the 1 hour mark. I don't know if we're going to go for a full 2 hours, but we're in 10 minutes we're dropping off of YouTube, and we're going to be doing essentially a flip side on Quite Frankly.tv. I just wanted to make sure that the bulk of your time in Dallas was on the record here.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, I put, just so you know, because it's 9:51 Eastern time, in 9 minutes we're dropping away from YouTube. We're going primarily over to Pilled. It is not there's no paywall, there's nothing. Just click on over, press play. You don't even have to register there, just press play. But get in the chat room, register. It only takes an email. It's a lot of fun. And the link to watch that is in the pinned comment on the YouTube chat right now. So maybe somebody else can take it from Pilled and drop it into the YouTube. I don't know I don't think links will actually work if you do it. I'll throw it in there. But Jay, you go ahead for the next few minutes.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think of what else we would want to. I mean, there's, like I said, there's so many angles to this. But so as I said, we've got Bonnie Ray Williams. He's the guy eating the lunch in the same window or next to the window where the assassination supposedly took place. And what's crazy to me is that so he swore up and down, and he was not being influenced by the Warren Commission. And something else you guys should know about this is that I can't even count the number of witnesses who say they testified before the Warren Commission, and then they got the Warren Commission report and read their testimony, and it was changed. Which is like, I mean, when you think about that, right? I mean, they were manipulating witness testimony as well as completely avoiding some witnesses who wouldn't line up with, again, this predetermined outcome. The one thing about the Warren Commission is they truly had a predetermined outcome. And you can see in the investigation, you can see specifically in the questions they asked, but even more telling is you can see in the questions that they didn't ask. So for instance, this Bonnie Ray Williams character who's eating lunch swears, he's like, the latest I left there was 12:20. That's the latest I left for the 5th floor.
Yeah.
Again, that's 10 minutes before the assassination. Now, supposedly then they're saying Oswald somehow was either on the floor or went up right after Bonnie Ray left, then arranged these boxes of books, assembled the rifle, got into his position, and did all this in 10 minutes. Again, remember, the motorcade is
and doesn't know he's late.
Right. Doesn't know the motorcade is
late.
late.
So he's got to be there early.
Exactly. And again, these are massive, heavy boxes. These weigh 50 to 100 pounds. These are full, they asked, he said, I didn't hear anybody moving any boxes. He said, in fact, I left the 6th floor because it was too quiet. And when I went downstairs and I said, oh, so maybe they should have asked Bonnie Ray Williams, did you hear anybody then moving boxes when you went downstairs, right? In that 10-minute window when the sniper's perch was supposedly being assembled? Of course, they never asked that question. And then the next logical question in my mind was, okay, well, the sniper's perch as it was set up, since you were eating lunch there, is that exactly the way you remember it when you left? Because if it wasn't, then somebody did go up there and change it. They never asked him that question either. It was like they skillfully avoided everything they needed to avoid in order to not get the answer they didn't want. And it's masterful when you look at it and you're just like, you can see them piecing the thing together. It's got to be Oswald. And I want to give you one last point on this because I think this is critical. And we did cover this before. I've got way too many pages of notes. I apologize. I'm going to turn this into something written for you guys.
Very diligent. You should put it on your top 100 Substack.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, Frank.
Did you guys know that Jay's free Substack is like number 78 in health and wellness? What is it?
Yeah. I just found this out. They just sent me an email.
I mean, listen, Jay, when I found this out, I mean, kudos to you because Substack became monumentally important, especially during COVID, because everybody that was coming from a medical background or a health background that was being chased off of X for in any way, shape, or Twitter at the time, in any way, shape, or form, questioning what the protocols and the modus operandi was in tackling this scourge. I mean, Substack was the only place where people can go to actually share data and analyze media narratives, hold it up again, basic scrutiny.
Yeah.
So the fact that out of all those people, especially in health and wellness, that went to Substack, that you're that deep into the top 100 is really sensational. I
was so I thought it was. I didn't think it was a real thing. I thought that can't be the case. I only have 1,500 subscribers. And I looked at the list when they told me I was on the list today and I was like, huh. And I'm seeing names of people that have millions of followers on Instagram anyway, and like some really famous and big people in the space. And I was just like, that's really cool. That means a lot.
You know what it is? People do a lot. I know people do this a lot. People will bookmark your page on Chrome. They'll bookmark a channel on Rumble or YouTube. They'll bookmark stuff. They'll write. I mean, they'll remember you. They'll come check in on you. But more than people than you think will just never go or find it necessary to go the extra leap to press subscribe and put on a notification.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're just like, okay, I'm going to bookmark this in my news and sources folder.
Sure.
And I'm going to keep checking in on it every once in a while. And at that point, why do you need to subscribe? It happens a lot because I can see it on the back of YouTube and Rumble, what your viewership is with people who are not subscribed. It's substantial.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's substantial.
I'll have to start looking into the metrics because, again, I just found this out just a little bit ago, which was great. So if you guys are out there, perpetualhealth.substack.com and let's get into the top 50.
All right. So,
all right. So last thing I want to talk about, because we talked about this before. If we have time?
Yeah, we got 3 minutes.
Okay. Go. The German Mauser. Remember this came up before?
Oh, with Charlie Kirk?
Yeah. Remember? But do you remember that I told you how the connection to the Kennedy assassination?
I remember you going through it. I couldn't. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll tell you.
Just take your time with it, and we'll bounce off after you're complete.
Absolutely. So I just wrote a couple of points that I think are incredibly interesting. On November 22nd, 1963, shortly after about 1:22 p.m., the rifle that was discovered hidden between boxes on the 6th floor in the northwest corner by Deputy Sheriff Eugene Boone and Deputy Constable Seymour Wiseman, including other officers, Roger Craig, who was nearby, they found a German Mauser, a 7.65 millimeter German Mauser bolt-action rifle with a telescopic sight. Wiseman even signed an affidavit describing it in detail with as blue metal and a specific sling color. Dallas District Attorney Henry Wade announced a Mauser on television that afternoon. And even in news reports that circulated, it was a German Mauser. Later that evening, the FBI lab examined it, and it was officially logged as a 6.5 millimeter Italian Mannlicher Carcano, the same rifle that was traced to Oswald's mail order address. Now, the people that called this a Mauser, this is multiple experienced officers, some with military backgrounds, firing Mausers in World War II. They all agreed that it was a Mauser. So every one of these officers who found the Mauser somehow were wrong. Not only were they all incorrect, and of course, what does the Warren Commission say? Oh, they just misidentified it. So they all misidentified it, and they all misidentified it as the exact same rifle. It's bizarre. I could go on and on, Frank, about these kinds of inconsistencies. Why? Because not everybody was in on it, right? They always say, oh, you can't have a conspiracy that big. Not everybody was in on it. And this is the proof. You've got to start cleaning up things as you go. You know, I mean, this made the news. The Mauser thing made the news. The district attorney went on television. German Mauser. Nope, sorry. Wrong country. Italian Mannlicher Carcano. So that was just another little point that I wanted to bring up, and how the Warren Commission deal with it like they always did. They were like, it was just mistaken. Anytime it was something that didn't officially line up with the narrative that they went in looking for, it was just a misidentification. It was a mistake. It was the fact that not a palm print was found on the Mannlicher Carcano until after Oswald died. The FBI couldn't find, or Dallas, couldn't find a palm print. Then magically they were like, oh, look at that. Oh, that's weird.
And was it his?
Yeah, it was a palm print.
They pressed a dead man's hand.
Yes, they did.
Into
you can't tell me.
Sick.
You can't tell me,
dude,
that they missed a palm print with the supposed weapon that assassinated the president. You can't tell me that they missed it.
You know, and this is the thing that really gets me. You were talking about conspiracy theories, is even just like as a term, because we know that this is really where it was born, right, as such a popular cultural, you know, as far as just in the nomenclature and all that stuff. It's crazy how, you know, conspiracy theory, everybody even today who takes interest in this stuff, so many people have accepted conspiracy theory is an untruth.
It's pejorative.
I know. And we all fall into the conversational trap. Listen, this is not a conspiracy theory, you know?
I'm so glad you said this, Frank.
Everybody, we all.
So glad you said this.
We all fall into the same trap. Mm-hmm. And I wish there was a way, and I understand it could be semantics, but it's also not at the same time, because it's a mindset.
No,
it needs to be broken.
Yes.
It's not a conspiracy theory. We are talking about conspiracies. They exist. Well, everything you talk about right now, with just the way that the investigation was conducted to be able to build a narrative, that there was timing and inconsistencies with where you found a palm print on a weapon until somebody else is knocked off and you can actually just plant it and all that. I mean, this is a conspiracy.
Frank, this is so weird. Like, so, you know, many times when we're going to do a show together, you know, sometimes I write notes, and then other times I also just like think about concepts, right? Like, if this comes up, what direction do I want to take it? How, you know, and you and I have such a good back and forth. And this is one of those examples of like, I had this conversation with you already today, but I didn't. Like, I had it in my mind specifically about the term conspiracy theory. And I even see people in the health space, especially during COVID, they always have to preface everything with like, now this is not a conspiracy theory.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Giving in to the pejorative, allowing that term to be weaponized against you. And I say the same thing, like, what was it, Clerks 2? I'm taking it back. Like, we have to reclaim that term because it was weaponized in a way that really just steered people away from listening. So the moment you label, that is the crime. You label someone a conspiracy theorist, and then anything that I say after that, once I've been labeled that, is like null and void. Even if I'm actually telling you facts that happened. Like, the district attorney went on the news, and you can find the clips, and he called the rifle a German Mauser. Conspiracy theorist. No, it happened, right? So it dismantles critical thinking, that term.
When somebody says, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so then what are you saying? I believe the official story?
Exactly.
Then obviously you don't. So how are you supposed to say, listen, I don't believe the official story?
Right. I'm an official story denier.
Yeah, I say, well, hey, listen, you can say what you want about me, but I think that the official story is bullshit.
Yeah.
And and I think that as long as we can just start off by stopping all of the disclaimers.
Yes.
Way too many personal disclaimers. I know that I set up stories I tell and things that I want to get across. I am very meticulous in the way I set it up sometimes because I know that we are in an age that nobody's really out there waiting to clip me.
Right.
You know, there are people who are, and when I say clip, I mean actually video clip, not like clip.
No, I know what you mean.
Well,
yeah, they want to take you out of context.
Yeah, they would take. Yeah, so I always think about that for when the day comes that somebody actually wants to, take a part of the show and turn it into.
But I mean, they'll do it to you anyway because look at how much airtime, how many hours and hours of footage is there on Charlie Kirk, and they're still able to do it. They were still able to do it to him, right? To turn him into a racist or whatever they want.
Yeah.
So they'll always be able to do that.
Oh, I've said plenty.
Yeah. We all have.
I've said plenty that's clippable.
But you're right in the sense, and I've said this on the show before, that this is what has always driven me crazy about Steve Bannon. He always leans into that thing, and I see people in my field do it. And I'm like, stop doing that. You're part of the problem. You're making it a thing, and we need to take that back. It isn't just a semantic thing. It is part of pulling the NPCs or the normies over to like team fact. Right, like I, as a person who was educated on how to think critically in the scientific method, I pride myself on going where the data goes. So that's why I don't preface things with, now, blah blah blah. I don't know. Yeah. This is what I'm seeing. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm telling you this is what I'm seeing. Now it's your turn. And Frank, on that same topic, the people that push back, the sort of like, the historians.
Hold that thought.
Okay,
we got more on this. Come on over to the flip side, ladies and gentlemen. It's a Saturday night. Don't let the night end. It's just one click of a link. I put the link in the chat room right there. Don't let the night end.
Don't leave us.
No, it's going to be good. We'll see you guys in just a second. Come on over. Here we go.
Hey, Frank, you're one talented guy. You're very good. Very good.
Why you get fried,
yes,
man?
why? Are you crazy?
You're fucking paranoid,
You are
man.
fucking. You are fucking.
You fucking you bloody.
You bloody.
Fuck you bloody. Bastard bitch.
You
fuck
bastard,
fuck you. Bloody fuck you bloody. Fucking mother bloody fuck bitch.
Bitch, you.
Bloody fuck you. You fucking bloody bastard.